Hey guys, I'm Redeem Zoomer, and today I'm going to be reacting to atheist posts and memes on Instagram. And before I get started, I just want to say, please don't message these people harassing them or anything. That's not Christian. First Peter 3 says that if we get in trouble for something, it should only be for being Christian, not for being a jerk. And even if you're not harassing them, don't try to message them to convert them because chances are you're not going to say anything they haven't already heard before. At that point, it's just pearls to swine. So just focus on being a good Christian and being a good example in your real life with the people that you know personally. But anyway, I think it's still good to respond to posts like these because a lot of times people see atheist content on the internet and they're not sure how to intellectually respond to them. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm not trying to harass these people or oh, Redeem Zoomer destroys atheists. I'm just trying to tell people how to respond to things like this. Okay, so there's three atheist accounts I'm going to be looking at this one, and this one. And what you're going to notice is that basically all of these atheist arguments can fall into one of these categories. There's like an atheist argument wheel. So many of them are like, oh, I believe in science, not religion, and assuming there's a contradiction. Some of them are just like, oh, if the God is real, why is there bad stuff happening? Um, so you'll find that there's a lot of similarities. Atheists never say anything new. Atheists never make any arguments that haven't basically been debunked by the church fathers almost 2,000 years ago. And that's helpful to realize. When you're looking at atheist content and some of it begins to challenge your faith, remember, Christians for 2,000 years have been thinking through these and developed responses to things like these. So you're not alone. And that's important to know. You're not alone. Okay, let's start. I haven't looked at these yet, really. So science replaces faulty hearts. Religion replaces functioning brains. So yes, science is an amazing gift from God. Christians invented science. The medieval Catholic Church laid the foundations for what we now know as modern science because they believed that an intelligent God created this world. So you can't divide science and Christianity. The only time and place in which there has been a divide between science and Christianity is with modern evangelicals. But modern evangelicals only make up a small sort of portion of the whole Christian pie of all of Christian history. Traditional Catholics, traditional Protestants have always been very pro science and contributed tons to science. All of the founders of the scientific revolution believed in God, Isaac Newton, Galileo. So I'm just going to say this right now to debunk all of the stupid, dividing science and religion posts. So that falls into this category, like the thing at the top. I believe in science, so that means God can't be real. All right. Scientists do not join hands every Sunday and sing, yes, gravity is real. I know gravity is real. I have faith. If they did, we would think they were pretty insecure about the concept. Okay, so this is basically claiming that the reason Christians sing about our faith is because we're insecure about the truth of it. Maybe some people do that. That's not why I do that. I don't need to sing about something and jump up and down. I'm a Presbyterian, so we don't jump up and down when we sing. I don't need to do that to have faith. We sing about it because we have joy about how amazing the truth of the gospel is. Gravity is really cool, but gravity isn't worth jumping up and down and singing about. I think if it was, scientists would do that. And a lot of times, the beauty of just the world really inspires scientists all the time, inspires them to maybe sing about that if they had a reason to. It just, I don't know, no one has ever made a religion centered around gravity yet. So this means nothing, basically. Okay, some of the most terrible things in the world are done by people who genuinely think that they're doing it for the best, especially if there's some God involved. Okay, so this is the whole idea that religion causes violence, right? And this is easily refuted when you look at the 20th century. The 20th century was the bloodiest century in all of human history, and the vast majority of the violence done in the 20th century was done by secular regimes. The most murderous governments were the Soviet Union and Maoist China. They were more bloody and murderous than Nazi Germany, even. But even if you include Nazi Germany, none of those were following any sort of traditional religion. They were all secular governments doing things in the name of their own secular ideologies. In fact, once religion basically died out in Europe, it was replaced by ideologies that were much more violent. So it's true that humans often kill in the name of their ideologies, but that applies to all ideologies. The problem is not with religion. The problem is with humans, and that means we need a solution to human evil. And that solution is Christianity, because only Christianity truly recognizes the depths of human sin. Okay, don't wonder at those who are good without God. Pity those who need God to be good. Okay, so this is the whole idea that, like, oh, if you need this idea of a God watching over you to be a good person, then you're not a good person. Christianity realizes that nobody is truly a good person. Some people are better than others. Some people do more good things than others, sure. But really, no one is good enough. Like, this post basically admits that humans all kill each other all the time for no good reason. And then this post is like, oh, people are good without God. Just read a history textbook. With or without a traditional religion, no humans have ever really been that good. And that's why we need Jesus. Christianity is the only worldview or religion that actually provides a solution to human evil. There is no sin in sexuality. Okay, so maybe you think that LGBTQ is not a sin, but I'm sure even this atheist girl would admit that there are some sexual desires that are sinful. Like like if an adult is attracted to children, I'm sure she would say that that is sinful, and that adult needs to fix that right away or go to jail. So everyone has some standard of sexual purity or morality. It's just that once you remove religion, that the bar gets lower and lower. It's a slippery slope. And maybe in like the first generation of LGBT activists, like my grandparents' generation, a lot of my family is very pro gay and liberal, but they're horrified by the modern trans movement because it's a slippery slope. The bar for sexual morality just keeps getting lower once religion is removed. So everyone has some standard of purity. I'm sure that this girl is also against incest, even if it's incest with perfect contraception. Most people are against incest. They just sense that it's wrong, sense that it goes against nature. Everyone has some standard of sexual purity. So I'm sure that she doesn't even believe what she's saying here. Okay? Let me get this straight. I can rape, murder, steal, and still live eternally in some paradise so long as I believe in a Holy Ghost. But if I don't believe, yet never do any of these things, I will burn in flames for all eternity. So, and no, we wonder why federal prisons are crammed with Christians. Federal prisons are crammed with Christians because Christianity is the number one thing that actually transforms the lives of prisoners and makes them live a changed life. Like, look up the story of Angola Prison. Angola Prison was the most violent, dangerous prison in the country. And then this warden, who was a devout Christian, came and made a lot of strict Christian rules. And it was the most transformative place ever for the criminals there. But I'm going to address the main focus of this post. That you can rape, murder, steal. Okay, it's this question. Okay, let's say one person lives a super bad life and believes in Jesus at the very end. Another person lives a super good life and does not believe in Jesus. So no one is good enough to be saved, right? Even people who don't rape, murder, steal, or whatever, they're still totally dead in sin. And I'm sure that that applies to everyone. If your thoughts, would you want every thought of yours to be projected on national television? No. Why is that? Christianity recognizes human sin. Nobody, neither the first person in the story nor the second person, deserves to not go to hell. Everyone deserves to go to hell. That's the hard pill that you need to swallow to understand Christianity. So no one deserves it. And that's people who are saved by believing in Christ are getting better than they deserve. Now, that being said, no one who does believe in Christ, no one who really does have a saving faith in Christ will do these things, will rape, murder, and steal. At least not continuously, right? Now, it is possible someone could live a horrible life, believe in Jesus at the end of their life, and be saved. It doesn't seem fair, but the gospel isn't completely proportional to our actions. Some people get what they deserve. Some people get better than what they deserve. It's like Jesus' parable of the people who were working in the fields throughout the day, and some people worked longer than others, but they all got the same wage. However, someone who identifies as Christian and like does all these things, the Bible says they are not true Christians, because if someone truly has faith in Christ, it'll transform them. So that's not exactly true. Okay. Religion is poison because it asks us to give up our most precious faculty, which is that of reason, and to believe things without evidence. Christopher Hitchens. All right, let me just look at this again. LGBTQ. What does the LGBTQ movement say? The LGBTQ movement says men can get pregnant. So much for reason. So Christianity founded the scientific revolution, right? Secular atheism led to the gender identity movement, which says that men can get pregnant, that men have periods, that we should replace the word breastfeeding with chest feeding. Which is more rational? Like Jesus said, you will know them by their fruit. The fruit of Christianity was Western civilization and the scientific revolution. The fruit of atheism is, pregnant men and chest feeding. Okay. Okay. I don't believe in your God the same way you don't believe in anyone else's. Okay. So this is the classic example of, oh, there's like 4,000 gods out there, and you're an atheist to 3,999 of them, and I'm an atheist to 4,000 of them. The problem with this is there's really two questions everyone asks when it comes to God. The first question is there a God? And the second question is, which religion has the correct expression of God? So anyone who belongs to any religion that believes in some sort of divine or supernatural being would answer the first question the same way. Yes, there is some sort of God or something out there. What they would disagree on is the second question, which is which religion have the correct expression of God. And that is a question everyone needs to ask for themselves. I admit it's not an easy question, but this idea that, oh, like I'm just slightly more atheist than you are, that makes no sense. Because the vast, vast, vast majority of all human civilizations throughout history have believed in some sort of supernatural reality. So the burden is really on atheists to explain why they're right and everyone else is wrong. Okay. Christians, humans simply enjoying anything. Is this Satanism? Okay, maybe if you grow up in an independent fundamental Baptist household, this meme is true. If not, I don't get what you're saying. Like, Christians are not opposed to natural human enjoyment of things. When we are restrictive about certain things, we are restrictive because true enjoyment of things requires doing it correctly. The reason that, for example, Christians are opposed to pornography is because pornography destroys your relationship to enjoy natural sexual or romantic relations. So Christians aren't against humans enjoying things. We are for humans enjoying what we were created to enjoy and against things that corrupted it. Right? Okay. I believe in evidence. I believe in observation, measurement. Once again, pregnant men. Okay. I mean, I know there's some atheists who think that's all ridiculous too, and I think they're a bit more credible. But even if you are someone who says, I believe in evidence, everyone believes in things that there's not evidence for. Because even atheists believe that it's important to pursue truth. But there's no evidence for why it's important to pursue truth. They are having faith in this immaterial, transcendental reality of truth. Like atheists, it's funny. You'll notice a lot of atheists like Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens are still influenced by Christianity because they believe pursuing objective truth is important. But objective truth can only exist if there's something beyond the material world. Because rocks and trees and stars, they don't care about truth. They're just existing. Truth, if it exists, needs to be something that transcends the physical. And we would say that because all humans have their own subjective perceptions of reality, objective truth can only exist if there's a supreme being, which is God. So faith means not wanting to know what is true. Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, well, Nietzsche has a whole philosophy, and people who follow Nietzsche's philosophy are having faith in Nietzsche's philosophy. People who want to be like an Ubermensch, which is what Nietzsche sort of taught. Nietzsche said that you should basically not be restrained by anything and just completely just do what you want and be a completely free individual. People who follow that philosophy are having faith in Nietzsche's philosophy. Faith is not suspending your reasoning. Faith is going beyond what the objective evidence can tell you. For example, you cannot scientifically prove that your wife loves you. And if you tried to do some sort of brain test on her, she would be very offended by that. She'd be like, why don't you have faith that I love you? So faith is not less than reason. It's more than reason, but it's not less. All right. Wait, if this cross thing was the plan all along, then why did God do that flood thing? Okay, I could answer this with Christian theology, but I'm not even going to because it's clear this person doesn't care what the Christian theological answer is. Because the flood was the beginning of God's plan of redemption. But they're clearly not interested in that. They just are trying to be snarky and poke holes in Christianity. Okay, just a few more of these posts and then I'll move on to some other ones. Okay, not sure who to hate. The Bible has the answers. Yes, the Bible does have the answers. What did our Lord Jesus Christ say? Love your enemies. Okay? Um, Church of the Cross. Don't let worries kill you. Let the church help. Okay, very funny. It is funny when church signs say things that actually don't say what they mean. But again, that's just a joke. Doesn't mean anything. Okay. Oh, you want me to respect your religion? Says Willy Wonka. Tell me again how much you think people with different religions should go to hell and burn for eternity. So we don't think people should go to hell for being part of different religions. I think I deserve to go to hell. I think you, I think you deserve to go. I think everyone deserves to go to hell. Just the only way to not go to hell is to be united to Christ because Christ is the redemption of the world. So it's just that it's like to use Noah's Ark as a symbol of this. The flood is coming for everyone, and Christianity is the only ark on which to escape the flood. Okay, religion is like alcohol. In small amounts, it is relatively harmless. Sometimes it's even fun or can make someone happy. When used excessively, it can lead to violence, anger, confusion, brain damage, and even death. It is also unfit for children. Okay, what's worse for children? Telling a child that God loves them or telling a child that after this life, it's just utter darkness forever? What's worse to tell a child that, okay? When used excessively, it can lead to violence. Okay, this is the whole like religion causes violence myth. Once again, the most murderous regimes, the most violent regimes in human history were all atheist. Christianity built Western civilization, modern science, yada, 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 hospitals, universities, my whole spiel. Okay, Pastor, I've got a question for you. You're a man of God, right? But why is it that when you need money, you come to us, but when we need money, you send God? You send us to God. Okay, churches are the most charitable organizations in the entire world. Nobody does more charity statistically than Christians. So Christians do give to other people in need. The churches need to function somehow. And of course, there are those mega church pastors like Kenneth Copeland that are total scams and total blasphemers. But Christians are the most charitable. They give to the poor. I don't get what these people are saying. No God to trust instead of in God we trust. Okay, why is that? I mean, yeah, it's up to you if you want to trust God or not, but then, let's see how that works for you. Okay. Religious people, I don't understand why you're offended by me. I'm not offended. I'm just saying you're wrong. You're just wrong. Maybe your memes are an offense to the truth. I'm not personally offended because I'm a Calvinist. Here's how I think. I don't get mad at atheists for being atheists because if it wasn't for God's grace, I would be one too. Okay, the stars died so that you could still be here today, according to Lawrence Krauss. Again, why is there any sort of contradiction between like Jesus and saying, "Oh, the stars died for you"? But the stars do die, and that's how they make like nebulas, which make more stars, which is really really cool. But stars aren't living things. Like stars don't sacrifice anything. Mark's safe from being lied to in church today. Okay, good. Instead, he'll be lied to on Instagram. Uh, thank, thank God I'm an atheist. Okay, that's just a silly thing that atheists say. Prayer has no place in the public schools, just like facts have no place in organized religion. Again, pregnant men. This is the only thing like organized religion, disbelief in facts. But when you get rid of organized religion, people just believe in even sillier things, right? And yes, there are silly things people believe in the name of religion, including some Christians. Like I think certain like evangelical Christians who believe in like the rapture, believe in silly things, right? But when you remove that, the things are just sillier because humans will believe in like I think it was G.K. Chesterton who said, when people remove religion, they don't believe in nothing; they'll believe in anything. Okay, faith triumphs over facts. Okay, this is another church side. Yeah, that's a really silly thing to say. Okay, but I don't. Since when does this represent all of Christianity? That's like me pointing to Stalin and saying, okay, that represents all atheists. I know Stalin doesn't represent all atheists. I think Stalin is a very good example of what happens naturally in society when you remove religion. Okay, okay, that's probably enough for this. Now let's move on to this guy, Heretical Theology. Now this guy's interesting because he used to be like a Christian account on like Twitter or something. He used to be an evangelical, non-denominational Christian, but then he lost his faith when he started looking at Bible scholarship, which supposedly disproved the Bible. Of course, Bible scholarship does not disprove the Bible, but he had never been exposed to like higher criticism or scholarship of the Bible in the past. So once he was, it just sort of completely shattered his faith. But still, it's worth responding to because he used to say really good things. I mean, by good, I mean like formidable. He used to say things that are pretty good arguments for atheism against the Bible. But now his arguments have gotten less good, I think. His older stuff was better for his side, better from his perspective. But now it's mostly just rage against Christianity, his posts, which I'm kind of disappointed by because his older posts used to actually make me think. They actually used to challenge my faith a bit, but now it's just basically rage against religion. And here's an example. He used to say, like, oh, I'm a hardcore atheist. But now he's getting into like spirituality and tarot cards and other forms of like Eastern meditation. Like tarot cards, I'm cool. Tarot cards and cool are cool and all, but he's still trying to like work spirituality and Buddhism into his atheist worldview, which basically shows that his atheism failed him. Like he's saying how to use tarot card as a skeptic. It shows that believing in nothing spiritual cannot sustain a person. And that's why he needed to sort of LARP as being spiritual while still being atheist just to get by, because he also ended up adopting some Buddhist philosophy and still trying to fit it into atheism. So I'm going to have to scroll back to his older stuff. Okay. Atheism is the ultimate default reset button for religious beliefs. And this makes sense because like I said, he basically reset his beliefs by becoming atheist, but then just adopted much sillier stuff like believing in tarot cards. Now, I will say that his version of Christianity, he came from like non-denominational evangelicalism, not the most intellectual form of Christianity. Nothing compared to like Catholicism or traditional Presbyterianism. But still, okay. I didn't leave Christianity so I couldn't sin more, but it is a nice perk. Okay, this shows that his criticism of Christianity was not purely intellectual. And he's even admitted there was a lot of emotion going on into his criticism of Christianity. Part of it was like he was just mad about corruption in the church or something. Now, but there were some intellectual reasons for why he left Christianity, so I should address those. And by the way, I know some people believe in like once saved, always saved. So you're going to be like, oh, if he left Christianity, he was never a real Christian in the first place. Okay, even traditional Calvinists like me believe someone can have a temporary faith and fall away. Perseverance of the saints doesn't mean that if someone ever has faith, they will always have faith. It means that the elect will always have faith. Okay. If your religion is opposed to equality, then your religion is the problem. So Christianity is not opposed to equality. The concept of the equality of all humans did not exist until Christianity came along. Christianity claims that all humans are made in the image of God. Saying that children shouldn't be allowed to access puberty blockers has nothing to do with equality, and you know that. So stop acting silly. Okay, the serpent was the hero in the Garden of Eden. Okay, once again, this is clearly not simply an intellectual criticism of the Bible. It's clearly evolved into blatant anger against Christianity. Okay. Um, okay. Finally, archaeological evidence supports the Bible, responding to the claim. Hopefully, I'll actually see an intellectual critique of Christianity here instead of just snarky comments about it. Yes, it does support some parts of the Bible, but it also disproves far more. Ooh, let's see what it disproves. Um, Archaeology is essential to understanding our history. Our religions often like to pick and choose which parts of archaeology. For example, okay, are we getting to it? Jericho. There's archaeological evidence that Jericho was not only just a real city, but it was also destroyed, walls and all. The problem is that Jericho was destroyed quite some time before the Israelites came onto the scene, making the story found in Joshua to be a myth, allegorical. Okay, so scholarship about things like this is constantly changing. 100 years ago, a lot of scholars believed, the gospels were written like much, much later than the life of Jesus. And some people were skeptical of Jesus even existing. Nowadays, the scholarship universally, unanimously says Jesus of Nazareth was a historical person. The scholarship still doesn't agree that the gospels are historically reliable, but the scholarship has moved much more in that direction than where it was before. So what archaeologists think about what happened when is constantly changing. So yes, of course, we should look at what they find just to keep up with what they're saying. And I'm open to the possibility that the Old Testament isn't necessarily a history book that we need to obsess over the historical accuracy of. Now, the Gospels, that's pure history, right? The Old Testament, especially when you get to things like Genesis, I'm okay with being open to the fact that, some genealogies could skip generations. Some of it could be more about telling a story than reporting history or stuff. But even so, I believe the Bible as a historical source much more than the ever changing historical scholarship. It's not to say that we shouldn't trust the scholarship or we shouldn't think it's important. It's just that, you shouldn't really base your entire worldview on scholarship that changes every few decisions. Okay, what does the Bible say about abortion? So, is he going to use the verse and numbers that supposedly is instructions for an abortion? Okay, so these are verses that evangelicals like to use. Before the I formed you in the womb, I knew you. This is a verse evangelicals and Catholics often like to use to support pro life ideas. I actually agree that this verse does not really support a pro-life agenda. I believe the Bible is pro-life, but they shouldn't use this verse because it doesn't say you were a person from the moment you were conceived in the womb. It said, before I formed you in the womb, I know you. All this verse is saying is that God has known about us from all eternity. This verse does not say anything about when personhood begins. There is a verse, which he doesn't mention here, Psalm 51:5, that does directly imply life begins at conception because David says, from the moment I was conceived, I was a sinner. And you can't be a sinner if you're not a person. Sex is a lot better as an ex-Christian. Now I'm not gonna go into his personal life here, but I can tell that what he means by that is once he stopped being Christian, he was able to do a lot more rebellious sexual things, things that I'm sure a lot of atheists would be disturbed by. And for his, I mean, he talks about this publicly, so it's not for his privacy, but just for the sake of you guys, I'm not going to go into what he's admitted to have done. Just take my word for it. Even a lot of atheists would be disturbed by it. I don't think we realize how often we believe something just because we have already decided we want to believe it. But he is literally doing the same thing. Once he decided that based on pure intellectual reason, he can't believe in Christianity anymore, suddenly all the sins that he used to not like seemed super duper fun to him. So, yes, I agree. Everyone has confirmation bias. Everyone really believes what they want to believe. But atheists do that too. Okay, atheists do that too. Okay, infinite torture for finite crimes is not justice. Now, there is the classic objection that says we are sinning against an infinite God, right? So, I don't know, hurting a human is worse than hurting a dog, and hurting a dog is worse than hurting a chipmunk, and hurting a chipmunk is worse than hitting an ant, and hurting an ant is worse than hurting a bacteria. Why is that? Because the greater something is, the worse it is to offend that. And God is the infinitely great being. So offending God warrants infinite punishment. That being said, not all punishment in hell is equal. The Bible says that some people will be punished in hell worse than others. So Hitler will be punished in hell a lot worse than some random Joe Schmo who just never cared about religion. It's not like hell is going to be not so bad for anyone. It's just that it'll be worse for some than, okay. I say gay. So do I. Good for you. Faith healings are often lethal. Okay, as a Presbyterian, I kind of agree that most of the faith healing stuff is BS. Now, there are maybe some legit faith healings, but I think there's like one legit faith healing for every 99 fake ones. Should we really be surprised that so many evangelicals also buy into conspiracy theories? I actually agree evangelicals have a problem by believing in conspiracy theories. That's why I'm not an evangelical. I'm just a mainline Protestant. But once again, because he was raised in evangelicalism, which is probably the least intellectual form of Christianity, he's assuming that it represents all Christianity, right? Okay, seeing children in Christian school uniforms is terrifying and deeply. Okay, yeah, you don't like Christianity, and I think what he's saying here is that that's indoctrination. They're just being indoctrinated into Christianity. But every parent indoctrinates their kids into what they want their kids to believe. If you raise your kids without religion, you are indoctrinating your kids to believe that freedom is essential. And indoctrinate isn't a bad word. I admit that when I have kids, I'm going to indoctrinate them. I'm going to baptize them as babies like a good Presbyterian. I'm going to raise them in my values just the way now this guy has said he's not going to have kids, but if he did hypothetically, then he would raise them to support what he supports. He would raise them to be pro LGBTQ. He would raise them to support freedom from religion, right? Okay. Why the Gospels are mythical narratives and not historical accounts. Now, I'm sure the Gospel authors use literary patterns and not practice for ancient historical texts. That claim is very, very disputable. Does he cite his sources? I'm going to see it. I'm going to see if he cites the sources at the end. That's weird. He usually does cite sources, but in this case, he didn't. Maybe that's because there really aren't sources for this. According to the scholarship, the Gospels very likely are historical accounts, and there's inspiring philosophy videos that explain why. But even if we could debate about the genre of the Gospels until Jesus comes back. Gospels are the most well-attested piece of ancient literature that there is. The New Testament has more copies and more, early copies than anything else. And because we know that the New Testament was not really altered that much, the New Testament we have now is not really altered that much. And we know that the New Testament was written within like a generation or so of the events. It would be really hard to make up all of that. Right. So, okay, sexual fantasies of mine. I don't know. This is probably not even worth looking at. Okay. When someone asks you to stop preaching at them, you stop preaching at them. I actually agree because the Bible says don't throw pearls to swine. So Jesus said you should preach to people, but if they're clearly uninterested, you shouldn't keep trying to because then you're gonna cause them to sin more, and that's bad for them. Okay, can we please stop using the Bible to explain biology and sexuality? The thing is, my case for believing what I believe about biology and sexuality has nothing to do with the Bible. It has to do with science and natural law. Evolutionarily speaking, men and women exist as distinct sexes, and they exist to mate with each other. Heterosexuality and cisnormativity, if they want to call it that, can be explained just by using evolutionary biology. It has nothing to do with, I don't need to touch a Bible to explain my beliefs on gender and sexuality. Those come from natural law and from science. Same with abortion, because biologically you can prove life begins at conception. So the only place religion comes in is to say that it's wrong to kill a person. But I'm sure that he would agree with that. Um, a full timeline of the New Testament. Okay. Again, this is debatable, when all these things happened, but I've even if this timeline is true, this wouldn't necessarily disprove anything about Christianity. So a lot of times evangelicals are raised to think the Bible is some sort of magic book, right? Magic book. And when they see some scholarship about it, it sort of demystifies the Bible for them and then they lose their faith. It's like, yeah, even if you do believe what the secular scholars say about the timeline of the New Testament, that doesn't mean it's wrong. Okay. I don't get it. Okay. Calvinism is the Christian fundamentalist idea. Okay. Because he's an evangelical, he obviously misunderstands what Calvinism is. Evangelicals define Calvinism as just predestination, whereas traditional Calvinism, aka Presbyterian and Dutch Reformed, not Baptist, Reformed Baptists are not Reformed. His only exposure to Calvinism was probably these modern Reformed Baptists. But traditional Calvinism is a lot different than what a lot of evangelicals think of as Calvinism. But still, if God is all knowing and controls all things, free will cannot exist. That's not exactly true. Traditional Calvinists do believe in free will. Read the Westminster Confession. Now, traditional Calvinism believes that we basically forfeited our free will in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve and with sin and all that. But it's not that we don't believe in free will. We believe free will is compatible with God controlling all things. So, he clearly does not understand Calvinism. Biblical canon, biblical canon. Very funny. All right, so maybe one more about this. What would change your mind about your beliefs? What would change my mind? Okay, so if I could see myself changing my mind about my specific denomination of Christianity. I could theoretically go from Presbyterian to something else like Catholic or something. And now the comment sections is like, Redeem Zoomer's about to become Catholic. People have been saying that for years. Um, there's no, I'm not planning to. I'm just saying hypothetically, my beliefs could change. What would change my mind about Christianity? Could anything make me stop believing in Christianity? Um, I don't know. That is a good question. Would anything make me stop believing in Nothing could make me stop believing in God because logically God must exist. It is impossible for God not to exist logically. I have videos explaining why that is. Christianity specifically, yes, here's what would change my mind. If I ever got so tempted to sin that I forsook Christianity, that would change my mind. I would go to hell though. So, but if I ever got so tempted to sin that I decided to abandon my faith, yeah, sure. In death, there is life. No, there isn't. Through Jesus, life comes from death with the resurrection. But no, death is a bad thing. A lot of atheists try and somehow become at peace with death, but that is not natural. Death is a bad thing. Death should not happen. And Christianity has the solution to death, which is the resurrection. Okay. Now, Jesus did not die for your sins. Okay, why do you think? Why do you think he died? For claiming to be a king. That is true. He did die for that. But Jesus told his followers not to fight back against him because he knew he needed to die for his people. Now, of course, you could say, oh, the gospel is not historically accurate or whatever. But, there's no, once again, we don't have a sort of pre edited gospel narrative. This idea that the things Jesus said in the gospel were not actually said by him, there's no evidence for that. The gospel is the best historical account we have of what Jesus said and did. So you could just claim that it's not accurate, but the burden of proof is on you to explain why Jesus existed, but the gospel is not an accurate account of what he actually said and did. You cannot understand the New Testament without understanding Second Temple Judaism. That is true. A lot of people don't understand Second Temple Judaism and don't understand the New Testament. But yeah, Christians, if you're watching this, study Second Temple Judaism. Learn the historical context of the New Testament. For that, I recommend N.T. Wright. This guy thinks that all Christians are historically and theologically illiterate, but that's just not true. Okay, maybe one more. Okay, why does he think Jesus is not God? There are two times in the Gospels when Jesus claims to be God. Please see captions for more details. Okay, this is the thing Muslims say a lot too, that Jesus never claimed to be God. That's just not true. Jesus did things that everyone at the time knew only God did. Not just in the Gospel of John, because they'll say the Gospel of John was written much later to prove Jesus is God. Sure, maybe if you believe that, let's look at some of the other Gospels, like Mark. In Mark, Jesus was forgiving sins, and they were saying, who can forgive sins but God alone? And there's many examples of that. This is not exactly an apologetics video. Okay, this is bad enough for now. Just one more quick account. This is just a small account, and most of these things are simply this idea that there's some sort of contradiction between science and Christianity. Creationism, the idea that humans are more closely related to this, the dirt, than this, a monkey or a chimpanzee or whatever. The thing is, I kind of agree with this because I actually do believe in evolution. And, the Catholics have always been cool with evolution. Mainline Protestants have always been cool with evolution. Orthodox Christians are up in the air about evolution. The only Christians that are dogmatically against evolution are evangelical Protestants. And that started with the Seventh day Adventist prophetess, Ellen White, had a dream about the earth being created in 7 literal days. And that bled into the rest of evangelicalism. So yeah, modern evangelicals are often young earth creationists. I am not. I actually agree that young earth creationism is kind of silly and contradicts the evidence. Um, so yeah, here's another one about this. How creationists think evolution works. They think it's just about, monkeys turning into people. And I agree with that. I've talked to a lot of creationists and they clearly don't understand they don't understand evolution at all. They're like, so you think we came from monkeys? Okay. If you're going to criticize evolution, at least learn what the heck it says. Like, no scientists are claiming humans came from monkeys. We believe that humans and monkeys have a common ancestor, just the way humans have a common ancestor with all forms of life, like ants, bananas, celery, and bacteria. We have a more recent common ancestor with monkeys and chimpanzees than with celery, but all life has a common ancestor because we believe life evolved over billions and billions of years. If you're wondering how this is compatible with Christianity, I have a video explaining why, called Why I Believe in Evolution. Okay, so um, yeah, the data says evolution, and scientists interpret it straightforward, and creationists sort of do mental gymnastics to say God did it. Once again, the vast majority of Christian thinkers throughout history have seen no contradiction between saying God made everything and things developed by a natural process. St. Augustine, probably the most influential Western Christian theologian ever, St. Augustine was not a young earth creationist. He believed that the world could have developed by natural processes. He lived like 1500 years before Charles Darwin. There was no contradiction between saying evolution created life and God created life. To understand why, let me explain. Who killed Lord Voldemort? Was it Harry Potter or J.K. Rowling? Of course, Harry Potter killed Voldemort, but J.K. Rowling also wrote the story where Harry Potter kills Voldemort. So God is sovereign over the whole universe, including all the scientific processes of the universe. So there's no contradiction between saying God did something and something was done by a natural process. I can say all life came about by evolution, and I can also say that God created everything exactly the way he wanted, because I'm a Calvinist. I believe God controls everything. Okay. Asking, if there is no God, what is the purpose of life? Is like asking, if there is no master, whose slave will I be? So this is the idea that religion is slavery and you need to be freed from it because of freedom. Now, it's hard for Americans to understand this, but freedom is not a good thing in and of itself. There's no value to freedom just by itself. Freedom is good if it's freedom to do something. If you're enslaved to something that prevents you from doing what you're naturally meant to do, freedom from that thing is good because it's freedom to do what you are made to do. Christians are made to worship, not just Christians, all people are made to worship God. So freedom from sin allows us to be free to worship God because sin prevents us from doing so correctly. Now they'll say religion is restrictive. And in some sense, yes, religion does restrict it. You need to be free. Okay, freedom to do what? Freedom to sleep around? Freedom to use drugs all the time? What do you want freedom to do? If there is no God, there is no objective meaning. There is no objective reason for why you need to be free if there is no God. If there is a God, you need to be free from anything that is hindering you from worshiping God. And that's about all of the atheist memes I'm going to cover for right now. Actually, no, maybe I'll do one more. There is not a single religion that can survive the two words, prove it. Now, there's a lot of evidence for the resurrection of Christ, a lot of historical evidence. But what Jesus said is that even if you can prove it to someone, that doesn't mean they're going to believe. Jesus said people could see someone rise from the dead and still not believe. You know, the Pharisees, the people who killed Jesus, the people who killed the first Christians, they witnessed the resurrection. They still didn't believe. I have a couple friends. One of my friends has never seen anything supernatural and sometimes has doubts about God just because he's very scientifically minded and he just doubts that there could be supernatural reality. He sometimes has intellectual doubts, but he's still a passionate born again Christian. He still goes to church every Sunday, and Jesus still means everything to him. Now, I have another friend who has seen supernatural things. He has literally seen spirits, and he's 100% logically certain that supernatural reality exists. But he doesn't go to church. He's been to church a few times. He gets lazy about going to church. He's told me that he doesn't want to worship God because he didn't get a girlfriend or something like that. So when people say that it's a head issue, it's an intellectual issue that's preventing them from believing, maybe it's that, but more often it's really a heart issue because you can have evidence for Christianity. There's lots of evidence for Christianity, but for the vast majority of people, that's not what's going to work. A lot of times people who are going to believe are going to believe whether or not there's evidence. And people who are not going to believe are not going to believe whether or not there's evidence. Okay. So that's about it for today. Tell me in the comments if you guys want me to do a part 2 where I respond to more atheist memes, more atheist posts. But for now, thanks for watching. And if you have more questions, if you have more things you want me to refute, maybe you can send them to me and I can refute them in the future. So thank you guys for watching and I'll see you all later.